What's happened is obviously the president has made some very bold statements unilaterally without any consultation, or very little, if there was any. It's not obvious, with our allies. I mean, here we are seemingly stumbling to a trade war with our allies in Europe. The president has been very clear from the very beginning of his campaign that trade was a big issue for him and his voters. Is 30%. That kind of reflects the polling that was just mentioned earlier in your reports. But the focus should be on China, if that's where the real problem is. And the president, with his tweets last week and yet to see real policy, seems to have started a war with our allies, or at least a war of words, that may stumble into a serious economic problem.
Secretary, I agree with you in terms of the broader picture on this, but the details that Willem just gave us, the idea that the EU is worried that China's not going to be able to dump their steel here and that it's going to go there, that is a broader problem. Like, everybody's been thinking, okay, we've been accepting and soaking up all of that additional steel that's been produced. Maybe this is really something. How would you target it? If you think we need very targeted ways of going after the Chinese, how would you do that?
Well, I think there's a couple of bills that aren't about tariffs. You've got a bill on reciprocity right now that what the Chinese companies that are coming to the U.S., there's a bill that I think one of the Republican members of the House put in, that U.S. companies should have the same reciprocity across the board. If they can do business here in certain ways, we should be able to, our businesses should be able to.
But our Congress can't mandate that. I mean, even if they pass the
No,
bill
they can't mandate that.
Congress, what does that mean?
Well, they could pass that, and the president, I assume, would sign it.
And then it's us talking again, though it doesn't actually do anything. China says, forget it. Thanks for your recommendation.
No, it affects Chinese companies that come here. It absolutely can. And they can put strikes behind it. But if you're going to do trade actions like the tariffs on steel and aluminum unilaterally, first of all, they should have come out with an actual policy and not just a conversation or tweets. And then consult with your European allies, because there's no doubt the Europeans have a legitimate fear of the Chinese or Russians going to dump steel in Europe. This trade debate, let's admit one thing here. We have an extremely strong economy going on. We have basically full employment going on. We have a very healthy and the strongest economy going right now. So this idea that somehow we have to go into some trade war to protect our economy is doing quite well, thank you, under the rules, albeit many of them should be changed, whether it's NAFTA improved or some of the others.
And that's the key. You're right. The economy is doing very well overall, but there are sectors, pockets of the economy, pockets of the country that feel like they've been left behind, that they've lost jobs as a result, that they haven't been addressed. And you yourself think that there are things that could be addressed. So I guess you agree with the overall take on some of these things, but not with the way that's being done, not the way that it's being carried out?
Exactly. It's got to be a thoughtful process with our allies, with the allies that we negotiate with and discuss with. No doubt, you have to have uncomfortable and difficult conversations. We're doing it right now with Mexico and Canada. My sense is that is not going to go anywhere, and I think the president's promise repeatedly in the campaign to end NAFTA is probably going to come about very shortly.
Some people are saying that this is the way to extract what we need to stay in NAFTA, with whether, that's the hope of many people. I'm surprised, Bill, the Democrats are the only people that like these tariffs. You just don't like the way they were done. I'm surprised Cohn didn't like them. He's a Democrat. So it seems like, it's the Republicans that hate the tariffs. We've heard from a lot of people in even your state, and Ohio, Pennsylvania, that, something eventually had to be done. And then I was thinking of something else, Bill. Just let me run this by you. I saw that it really does help if we have a steel industry in this country. And unfortunately, it's becoming automated. And we're going to lose jobs probably no matter what. There's never going to be hundreds of thousands of people employed like they used to, because so much of it is automated. But you darn well better have your own ability to make steel for infrastructure and defense and everything else. And I can see that we do want to, it may not be the answer. We may not bring all the jobs back, but we don't want to be relying on China for our steel when we're building infrastructure or defense. So that must appeal to you a little bit.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question. It's not as though we don't have a steel industry.
Well,
and it's not.
It's compromised to some extent.
It is challenged because you do live in a global world. And the people who buy the steel and use the steel want to buy it at a cheaper price if it's quality steel. And if they can find quality steel from Europe that may be cheaper, they'll buy it. And that now, if you're going to stop that and say no, you have to only buy it from U.S. companies.
You don't want a centrally planned statist economy where they keep the things. They're going to make it no matter. It doesn't match up supply and demand at all. They just do it because they're bringing farmers and peasants in to work in the steel mill, so they'll never cut back on production. Right?
Then Joe, you're right. Then focus on China, where that sort of abuse is going on.
So
your whole report was about EU.
President Trump
was a fight with the EU.
Trump must be watching because he mentioned you specific. No, he doesn't. But he just did tweet from Bush 1 to present. Our country has lost more than 55,000 factories, 6 million manufacturing jobs, and we've accumulated trade deficits of more than $12 trillion. Last year we had a trade deficit of almost $800 billion. Bad policies and leadership. We must win again. So that's just moments ago. I don't know which.
You forgot hashtag MAGA.
Yeah, hashtag MAG. You know what else I was doing, Bill? I was looking at, just to bring it current, I searched Bill Daley departure. And, man, they were writing stuff when you left that was just like with Cohn. You left a year early, and there was tumult, and, you had lost some people under you. And no, I mean, it's similar. That's a meat grinder in D.C., is it not?
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, I don't think anyone's really surprised that Gary has left. It's been speculated about for now 6 months almost since the Charlottesville comments of his. So I don't think it's a great surprise that he left. I do think, though, that the timing as a result is pretty obvious. He lost the fight around this issue of tariffs and trade.
Do you think he should do that when you're there to serve at the president? You give him your opinions, other people give opinions, and then do you have to leave when he doesn't do what you want him to do? I think there's more to it. I think he was going to leave anyway, maybe.
I don't disagree with you, Joe. I think there's at least you all have speculated numerous times, as the media speculates on other people every day who are allegedly going to leave at any given moment.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.